Okay.
Hey Frank, what's up?
How you doing, Emerson?
Oh, good man, good man. So we're doing the speaking now. We used to be. Are you still doing the hosting right now, or is
I
that
no, I don't. I think no. It seems to my passion is totally now is doing meetings and talking. Yeah. So,
likewise?
but
So we're
then, but you same is it? Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
yeah. So you have an event coming up this weekend, and is it your first live meeting?
Well, it's the first in room. So there's
Oh
going to be
yeah, yeah,
people in Dublin, Ireland, and then people online. So a blended meeting online and offline. So yeah, all things. Hopefully the technology will work out, but I've tested it, and so it should work. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's a blended meeting, and it's going to be on this weekend, right? This Sunday.
Yes, Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And if anybody's interested, they can find out on unknowing.life.
yeah.
That's the website. Yeah,
So
it should be
knowing
clear enough.
that live. Okay.
Unknowing.life. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And what is unknowing? I'm trying to be the interviewer here again.
Oh yeah,
I
you're
haven't done
great.
this in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. Um, I suppose in a way there isn't a thing called unknowing, but it's the absence of knowledge.
Yeah,
It's the absence of knowing life, knowing reality, and it's the absence of that which knows. Really, it's a kind of it's a it's a lovely word. I actually love
I
the
love that word
URL.
too.
Yeah, it is a lovely word. And then the website kind of works having that extension dot
Yeah,
life. But it really is just a lovely word. That's all. In a to kind of describe or kind of point or whatever to just the inexplicableness of what is.
yeah. I love that word too.
Mm,
Sometimes I use it in my meetings,
yeah.
and
Oh, you're not
just
allowed.
you.
No, no, no. You're
I
not allowed
know
to use
it's
it.
trademark now. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny. I put a TM on it. Yeah. Unknowing.live trademarked. Yeah. Jesus.
I'll get a strike from YouTube. I won't be able to
Mm.
use it. Copyright infringement.
Oh, I'll be the secret reporter. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's copyright. Yeah.
Yeah. I better delete those videos that I did. That's called unknowing. I'm just joking.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so you have not really been doing interviews. I haven't done any interviews at all. I just like doing chats right now, right? Because
Mm,
it's just yeah. I
yeah.
can't help to do this. There's no one choosing to do any of this speaking, but there's a it's like DJing for me now. I
Okay.
love doing a long DJ set, and that's what I'm doing with this. It's the same thing. It's just no one doing anything, no one DJing, no one speaking. How do you find speaking compared to the interviewing?
Um, it absolutely blows my brains apart. I think it's unbelievable. I think and it's ever new, ever fresh, and I just can't believe. Like I was chatting to somebody recently, and they were saying, "Oh, sure, you've been going on about this for 15 years, Frank," and I went, "All right." Because it seems anew. It's not like it's a subject and it can be got to the bottom of or the top of because it appears as everything. So
Yeah,
it's and it blows. Yeah, I find the like also it's nothing.
yeah,
Also, it's nothing. And like
yeah,
so, in other words, for the meeting on Sunday, really the only thing that's there's technology and a
yeah.
computer and the setup. The
Yeah.
rest is just sitting there and it's utterly effortless. And I do it all day, every day. And that's what kind of totally blows my brains because it has nothing to do with anything um, that I might have wanted or thought about, and it's just incomparable to anything. Yeah, I think they're amazing. Somebody else might look at them and go, "Oh my god!" Like I said in a meeting recently, you'd be better off getting a big tin of paint, throwing it on the wall, and watching the paint dry because at least the paint might appear to dry. Something might happen. Whereas this is just really purely, wonderfully just what it appears to be. And yeah, so that's the answer. I'm
Yeah,
amazed. I love it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm really amazed with the passion coming out, in this talking
Mm,
about this that can't be talked about. And it's
mm,
just really ridiculous sometimes, right? That it's just really kind of like, what is happening here? It's
mm,
just all of this coming out about and talking about much ado about nothing. It's just about nothing is on offer, and there's just this aliveness and enjoyment in talking about something that can't be talked about. It's unthinkable even of
mm,
what's occurring, and it's not coming from knowing. It's not coming from any authority. It's just what is coming out, and there's no one. It's just this simultaneous automatic happening that's not even happening, the talking
mm.
of it that can't be really captured, and it's just fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that nothing has been described, nothing is on offer, but it appears as as the talking. It's so immediately just what it is. So that and then it seems almost like it's an aberration to appear to be talking when it is as talking. And I think that's the energetic feltness of that is really, it's not like nothing being a thing that's being described. It's actually nothing.
Yeah.
And I think people perhaps they're used to being talked at, used to being seen as individuals, and used to being seen with all their stories and related to. There's no relating. There's no anything really. There's just question, and it's amazing. There's questions. Amazing anybody turns up. A question response, and yeah, every single thought I might have had about the idea of talking is just incomparable to the meetings, and at the same time, it's absolutely nothing. Like it's just
Yeah.
so, like much ado about nothing, like you said,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, it's just the absence of everything, and when when there's talking happening and there's a parent and it's not being addressed to anyone at all, there's just this blankness or this um I can't even explain it in words, right? When this it's inexplicable what's happening that's not really happening. It's just this expression that there's really nothing going on. There
mm,
seems to be talking happening, but there's really nothing going on. There seems to be someone listening, but there's not even anyone there. It's nothing. It's completely nothing, and it appears as everything, and it's just
mm,
this um yeah, it's a quite a mind fuck, and there's no mind.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Mm, mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
I did one of this like long kind of like online, not online, sorry, in a live meeting for 5 days, and I love that. At the end
Yeah.
of it, there were just a lot of silence at the end of it, and a couple of giggles, or a couple of kind of like and the giggles becomes kind of like contagious, and I'm a giggler, so I'm laughing with
Mm,
it, and there's just this almost kind of like when the questions starting to fade, right?
mm,
Because there's just that it just doesn't go anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It's uncompromising, and it
mm,
doesn't really, it can't really, it doesn't have any position. So someone will come up with a position and it gets obliterated because
mm,
there's nothing to respond to something that has a position.
mm,
Yeah, and it's just this. I like the longer format in terms of meetings. I like the
mm,
short ones too, but there's this apparent preference for like a longer, and that's what you're having this Sunday. Just that longer format. It's almost kind of like a, I call it exhaustion. When
mm,
there's this encounter with this nothing, nothing, nothing. That's why I like the brick wall on my background, because when I was seeking, it felt like I was hitting a brick wall over and over and over again, and I kept on
mm,
saying, "I will never get this. I will never get this." true statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It can feel like um, banging the head against the wall, the seeking thing. It can. It's a good description for seeking, but and especially when greeted with uh, nothing. In a way, you could say the seeking, when it's greeted with nothing, it's exposed for not actually seeking anything. It's just a kind of an energetic movement. It's just you can't do seeking. Sure, how can you? How do you know how to seek? It's just seeking appears to happen, and and in a way everything is kind of seeking, but yeah, like I'm very curious about the longer, because it's ever like somebody messaged there recently in a meeting and saying because it was very quiet, and they said something like, god, you must be uh or something excited about this being over in 20 minutes, or is it a killer to stay on for these next 20 minutes? And I was going, no, this is amazing. It's amazing that people in a way gather together to share or whatever. You could say that's a kind of that's a story about it, but you could say it is amazing, really, because it's it's just yeah, yeah. It is just amazing that people gather, and it's amazing that there's questions, because really there's nothing to say, you know, because if there was something known, then I'd have something to say. I don't have anything to say, so that's why it's kind of, what's like you tell anybody, you have a meeting, uh, there's no preparation. It's not like
No.
I'm going to create a few slides.
Imagine.
Yeah, I'm going to present now the way to hear, and that's why in a way it's totally free. Well, it's free to be exactly what it appears to be, you know.
Yeah. And what's so great about this is, speaking about this, is that there's no one speaking and there's no one special here. So there's no hierarchy in terms of there seems to be an answer and a question, but it's the same. There's really no
Yeah.
no no it's like an equalizer. Sorry about that. And
That's silly. Mm.
yeah. And it's just when I was a teacher, when I was a spiritual teacher, there seems to be kind of like a hierarchy, kind of like a codependency, like I have the power. But this one, I most of the time I basically say I don't know. I have no idea because there's no one here to have anything, any kind of like any position or any kind of conclusion. It's like, it's like the dead end, and all I can say it's the dead end. Sorry.
Mm.
there's no there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to figure out. It's the dead end. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the underlyingness is that, like, it's in a way, it's nothing appearing as questions and nothing responding. And, you could, it really is nothing happening. And I think uh, that can appear, wow, that's unbelievable, or it can be unbelievably frustrating, because really, um, you mentioned authority. Everything really has an authority. It's like, who's going, somebody will explain what this is and that is, and there's echelons, and somebody at the top and somebody at the bottom, and the whole thing seems to feed upon itself. And whereas the the meetings are, you know, just nothing. It's not nothing is being offered, and in a way that can seem sometimes. I think it can seem cold, but I think it's unbelievable. I think it's
Yeah.
unbelievably wonderful, because really what's been said is totally and utterly heard, but there isn't someone that can be is seen to be fixed or improved, because there's basically they're talking to total cluelessness, really, if you
Yes.
want to put a word on it. And
Yeah.
then but
I
it's
like
it's
that cluelessness.
it's yeah,
That
it's
will
the
be my
same.
next website, cluelessness.com.
Yeah, um yeah, you see, that's our. it is kind of, that's where you, words like the childlike wonder and innocence, but
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
it is as that, but that's not a having. So that's the dilemma, because it seems attractive if you use words like childlike wonder. It's go, oh fuck, right, that's something like I like to have, but I don't have
yeah, yeah,
childlike
yeah,
wonder. I don't have anything. I
yeah,
don't even have the sound of my own voice. This is as
yeah,
close as anything gets, you know. So um uh yeah, so amazing, really amazing. Yeah.
yeah. It is. It is.
Mm,
It's quite fascinating, this curiousness, and then there's really no figuring out. There's just this kind of like infinite curiousness about something that can't be figured out. And
mm.
and and when I was
And
seeking,
yet it's wonderfully as that, though. That's what's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
It's free to be exactly what it appears
yeah,
to be being, which includes curiosity, seeking,
yeah,
wanting, and everything.
everything, everything.
It's totally
It's like
free.
this
Yeah.
kind of like what you're saying, the childlike wonder of it all, right? It's kind of like,
Mm,
oh wow, what is this?
mm.
and
Yeah.
and I like the questions that, I love the questions, especially when it's a very challenging. Someone is kind of like going at it, right? It could be
Mm,
some kind of like a hot seat kind of like situation where there's this frustration about something, because
mm,
there's really no separation from the questions and the answer. It's just appearing seemingly as a question and answer, but it's whole,
mm,
and whatever arises in it is also whole. So nothing is
mm,
ever separate from that. And it's just
mm.
beautiful to have this hour or 2 hours, or how many hours do you have on Sunday? It's
So
like
we
290
start.
minutes.
Well, I see. Of course, I didn't really think about anything, but so there's a morning session and an afternoon session. So I just put at the time, I put, oh, sure, 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So, but now I've kind of, yeah, I've divided it up.
So there's a
Uh,
break in between.
there's a break for lunch and then there's a break in between. So then I also then divided it up that people say if they were in Australia and they might just want to come to the morning, or
Yeah,
people in the
yeah,
US want to come in the afternoon.
yeah.
So it's
Oh, yeah.
10 to 1 and 2 to 5. And then there's little breaks in between. And then we break for lunch.
And breaks in between. Yeah,
Yeah, breaks in between. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
And if
awesome.
they're in the room, there'll be coffee for people. There'll be nothing else but coffee. Yeah.
Which hotel is it?
You wouldn't know it now, but it's on the website. It's not too far from my house
Oh, nice.
in South Dublin. Um, yeah.
Are you planning to do kind of like a longer retreat later on too, like a 5 day, or it would be nice to go to Dublin, right? And maybe you and Kenneth can do one, like a 5 days
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, that'll be kind of cool.
That could be interesting. We kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, I haven't planned. I'm not great for planning. You have, even having this one, I just said, right, okay, this is what's going to happen. And then, so we'll see what happens after this one. Yeah, I'm very curious about it. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
I'm worse than you. I kind of like make a plan and do it like 2 days later. You know what I'm
okay.
saying?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Mm,
very spontaneous, and it's no, but it's just fun. It's just fun to do this, and there's just a lot of enjoyment, in speaking about nothing, answering questions, and just this unknowable mystery that is this, right? And then
mm,
when it's being discussed, there's nothing to get, nothing will ever be clarified, but it is
mm,
just what is.
mm,
There's resonance though, like there's this silence. Sometimes it's so beautiful in meetings, and
mm,
uh, and some of the beautiful questions that get asked, or the silence, it's the same. But yeah,
mm. Yeah. Yeah, free to be exactly how they are, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, do you notice you used to give meetings, did you, years ago when you were a spiritual, when you were doing spirituality? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh
how do
man.
you compare? How do you enjoy them?
Oh,
Could you
that one
compare?
was like a performance, right? I have to rehearse it. I have to kind of like um
Okay.
I had to get a whole bunch of quotes because quotes makes you credible and that kind of stuff. And
Okay.
according to
Yeah.
Nisargadatta, that kind of thing. And this is
Okay.
something from Ramana
Okay.
consciousness, or according to this whatever Swami or Shri, all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it's and this character is very how do you call it, introverted sometimes, but it's funny because it does things in public like DJing and stuff. So it needs to rehearse over and over and over and over again. Um,
Mm,
and then when it gets to speaking about it, it becomes like an authority speaking,
mm,
right?
okay.
Like it knows something. But here it's just that there's no one special anymore. So the specialness is that's why I just keep on laughing because there's really nothing special at all. It's just this
Mm,
ordinary, it's just this obviousness that is being expressed. And there's no
mm,
one behind it anyway, right? There's just no
mm,
one behind it. In the spiritual teaching, it comes from a lineage, and all of this magical belief. It's a lot of belief systems, and
mm.
no one really challenges you because you're an authority. So everyone's
Okay.
hushed, right?
Okay.
And there's this kind of like, you have the power in the room, in the uncompromising meetings, these meetings that I do right now. Sometimes people get really agitated and really kind of like really challenge what is being, and that never really happens in a spiritual meeting because you're kind of like perched up on a chair with some really nice fragrant flowers, and then you have a picture of a guru,
Right.
that your lineage, or the one that, so you can't question that because you are questioning the lineage. So there's this hierarchy, there's this
Wow.
you're on a pedestal basically. And even if people wanted to say something, it's almost disrespectful in spirituality to challenge the teacher. um
Okay.
and it just becomes kind of like this is just a matter of fact. In this communication, I often say I really don't know, or so what.
Mm,
It doesn't come into any conclusion or any kind of knowledge, and it's not speaking, it's not addressing to someone in the spiritual kind of like scenario or the scene, right? It's trying to fix someone,
mm.
trying to give them some tools. You have to align your chakra, Frank, right? I can see that your aura is very pale right now. You need to
Yeah.
brighten it
Yeah.
up.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
it's 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 although I knew that it was kind of bullshit, all of that, right? I trusted the lineage, the belief,
Mm,
kind of like, because they would talk about that, and I would. It's like being a priest. You
mm,
have, according to John, and all of a sudden you do this lecture about it. Here, this is just a free flowing. It's almost kind of like a freestyle,
yeah.
about nothing. Whatever comes up, comes up. And because there's no one choosing to do anything, so there's really no preparation. Um, I just change my hat and my shirt, and then I and I speak about it.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
like
Yeah.
when I DJ now. I like freestyle DJing. I just have a whole bunch of tracks, and I don't really prepare it, right? So it just becomes a really sometimes kind of like really funny night. Like all of a sudden there's a Bee Gees song in the middle of. It's just this, whatever happens, happens. There's no one choosing to do it. So it's not like
Mm,
some of the DJs that would really prepare their set. So that's why I'm saying that it's almost like DJing. It's just this, there's just a love for it because it's just happening, and there's no preparation really. It's something that it feels like something that has been done for eternity.
mm,
Yeah. And there's no knowing
mm,
about it. There's no knowledge. It's just this freshness that comes out. And there seems to be words that comes out, and I get really almost kind of like tickled by it. When words like unknowing, or it's just this beautiful, although it can't capture it, it's trying to express the inexpressible, the nameless, with words, the
mm,
undefinable, with this concepts to destroy the concept, and it's beyond the concept of even as a concept. All that kind of stuff just comes out, and it just becomes this um almost like a poetry of nothing.
mm.
And then when the questions, when there's a question that's happening, sometimes it gets into this, I don't know what it is. It's just this you know well, you don't know, but you know what I'm saying. There's this resonance with it. this beautifulness that is there's this clarity that can't be expressed in words, but it's
Mm.
always there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like riffing, you know what I'm saying? It's just this.
Riffing. What's that?
I don't know. It's kind of like, it's just happening. You know what I'm saying? Like someone's riffing on
Okay, like
unknowing, or
rapping or whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Okay. On the
freestyling, right?
freestyle, right?
Like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
cipher or something. It's just this. Well, actually, cipher maybe they prepare, but there's no preparation for this one. It's just there's no before and after. It's just this all at onceness in speaking about something that can't be caught. It's
Mm.
beautiful. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then there's just this yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just completely inexplainable what seems to happen that's not really happening at all. And I love it. I love it. Although there's no one here, there's just this passion for it. There's this passion of, because I can speak about this for like 8 hours a day. Like I've done maybe about 6 hours a day, for 4 days. I've
Okay.
done
Yeah.
events that I've done like about, I think one time I was doing 4 90-minute sessions per day in a course of 5 days. I don't know how many hours is that, but there seems to be this. I seem to have a lot of energy after it. I don't know
Mm.
how, right? Because it's speaking about, and it's I do get tired sometimes from DJing, maybe because I'm standing up or something. But there's just this, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know what
Yeah.
it
There you
is.
go. It's lovely. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it is either. I don't know what anything is. Yeah.
Cluelessness.com.
Yeah, it's just what appears to be happening, isn't it? Really, at the end, like that's just what appears to be happening. So, yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Um. uh, mm,
um, how is it? How is it now? You have not done any interviews. I haven't actually done any interviews at all.
yeah.
I like the chats now. It's just nice to chat about nothing. And even when I was interviewing, there was this clarity already. And so it's almost like acting, the interviewing that was happening.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
Trying to force the question. Yeah.
trying to force,
Yeah.
or I have a whole bunch of like written questions, that
Mm,
someone actually asked me because I didn't have any more questions. So I was
mm,
just almost kind of like faking it, with this kind of stuff. And then I was encountering a lot of, although they're really nice people and they're really nice character, but I could not stand the teaching. Right? There was just like, you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? This kind of like almost like an allergy to it. And
Yeah.
I went to speak to Tony, and Tony said, I was wondering when you're going to start, when you're going to say that,
Mm,
speaking to teachers and stuff, like, although there's nothing wrong or right about that, it's just a happening. But what happened here too was just there was just this kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore.
yeah.
I enjoy speaking to kind of like Kenneth and Jim and Tony and you know what I'm saying, and the speakers that there's just this, you know what I'm saying, and there's
Yeah.
no attainment, or there's no instructions on how to get this, or witnessing this or that. That was just
Mm,
really confusing. I'm like, that's really confusing if if there's someone that is witnessing or watching the thoughts or observing or abiding any of that when it comes up, and I'm like, okay, or that you are that, all that kind of stuff. Um, and how was yours, towards the end of your interviewing? Were you interviewing any non-duality speakers at all, or has that ended a
well,
while back?
um, I, I think, you see, the way I used to approach basically, it was a kind of, it wasn't really an interview in a way, but mostly it was from the perspective of, I felt that they knew something that I didn't, and I wanted to know that because I felt that was
Okay.
so. But then I approached it in a way, and yet I approached it just I didn't do any preparation, didn't look at anything because it was a kind of a sincere sort of. Uh, I just wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know what this was, and I felt somebody must know, and that was really that was so. So then, but I recorded that, but really it was a kind of I had no interest in, being a non-duality interviewer or making podcasts about non-duality. It was basically this was a kind of what the seeking represented, and I just kind of documented it by pressing record. And then it was interesting that it seemed like when I was asking that a lot of people kind of really appreciated the asking because maybe they did, they could feel the pain. They wanted to they wanted to be able to ask, and maybe I was asking in a way for them by virtue of those podcasts. So and that just kind of happened. So that was it. It just happened, and then it just increasingly became so ordinary. Increasingly, like, I would sit with Kenneth on a bench talking about the birds and the sound of the trees. And then it would kind of be right, I better ask a question here. But I didn't have, let's just say, there was nothing there. So then to ask really. And then let's just say then that just absolutely, that ended, that just zoop. And there was, let's just say that, in whatever, seeking was just happening. So that was life as nothing as seeking, and then just nothing as whatever. And just so in a way, that's just what appeared. Yeah, the only way to say is it does, but it comes up in meetings now, and because in a way it gives the impression of, well, this is somebody who was seeking, asking loads of questions, and then this is somebody then talking about it, and so then there's a kind of a struggle in a way to kind of go, well, actually, nobody was doing the podcasts, nobody was seeking, and nobody's talking, and there's never anyone in the entire universe,
Ain't
and
that funny,
so
huh?
well, that's the amazingness in a way. Life then free to be exactly
As it
how it
is.
appears to be,
Yeah, yeah.
how it appears to be being, and so that's kind of like, but it's all there. I just say, well, I mean, it's all there. It's if you want to see frustration, it's there. Have a look,
Yeah.
and if you want to see a parent seeking, and that it's no point me going. It's there, and then it's going to be looked at and seen. However, it's going to be looked at and seen and interpreted, whatever reaction to that, and then likewise with the suggestion with just the suggestion that this is nothing appearing to happen and this is nothing being described, the reaction is whatever the reaction is then, and that's it. But yeah, sure. Look, yeah, I haven't a clue. But yeah, that's how I think that's yeah.
Yeah,
I
your
think that's
channel has that apparent timeline of Frank. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah, no, with the history of the apparent kind of like seeking, the frustration and the questions, um,
Mm.
and now there's this speaking about what was being asked before. That's quite
Mm.
fascinating. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like it's
it's
like
funny.
a
Like yeah,
it's like a time capsule of timelessness.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, like it's amazing. Like the first one I did was Life in Free Fall with Kenneth, the black and white one,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
like, but obviously it was so let's say I was businessman at the time, let's just say, and it's just so unbusiness like, and to go after, but it was just drawn this like found Kenneth's website and amazing that was out there. Life in Free Fall was his website at the time, and that was there. And I because like um Yeah, just amazing the resonance immediately. And I was very, 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 very could sense in a heartbeat the difference when I was something was being explained, something when I was being talked to, or when there was something known, because it was definitely felt that it had to be the the sitting on a chair. It had to be unbelievably ordinary, and it couldn't be else. It couldn't be other than. And it was always that kind of inexplicableness that was felt. So straight away, more or less, let's just say, the uncompromising message was the one that I was clearly drawn to, and that's kind of amazing. Like it's so obvious in a way. Obviously, there's no one doing anything because should there was nothing being described and nothing was on offer, so there was no use to me. And yet, at the same, there was no use to me because I wanted to be told in a way that it was, and yet at the same time, the moment somebody spoke to me in a certain way, that was boom, no, that's not what this is. And so that's why, you keep going back to this in a way, and then that just unraveled or unfolded, whatever. I mean, it's all a big story there. But yeah, amazing, like 0 and 1, like in a way, like when 0 and 1 that was done, and I just, you know, put the video out there. I traveled across Europe, put the video out there, and then didn't send it to anyone. Didn't tell anyone about it that I
Oh wow.
knew.
Yeah, yeah.
Told no one, like, and it's just interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that I think there's something. If you were to kind of try and be fanciful, there's something about this that's like water, and water finds a level, and in a way, the line is so stunningly fine about this communication. It's nothing
Mm-mm.
to do with this bald fool, really nothing to do. And the line, in a way, you could say you can't have nothing. You can't have this
Yeah.
communication, but nothing can have you. But if you were there, of course. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's where, but that's kind of been, that's as fanciful as you can get.
Yeah.
Nothing kind of, but the line of this communication is, and between water and a little bit of dye and a little bit of coloring, and then obviously like the spiritual speakers, it's like champagne, but this is it's free water, and it's I don't know, like that's just, so it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, when you're making that documentary has been seen by some, it's always referred to, it's always um, you know um, discussed, the 0 and 1. And I think I saw that and I was really frustrated with it when I was seeking maybe about 6. How old is that video? Is it 10 years? Has
Oh,
it been 10
it's
years?
nearly 10 years. Yeah,
Wow, yeah, yeah,
nearly 10
because that's
years. Yeah.
probably about 7 years or maybe 8 years that I saw that, and I
Yeah,
think
wow, right.
I think I watched it, and maybe about 6, 7 times or eight. I can't remember. I really can't remember how
Gosh.
many.
Wow.
Maybe a lot, right?
Yeah.
And it was just really frustrating, and I was in the midst of this kind of like the collapse of the spiritual teacher because everything that it was teaching felt like bullshit now. Like everything
Mm.
that was felt like a big fraud now, right? I'm like, what are they saying? And
Yeah.
it was just a shock. It was just a complete shock. Um, and this is after I encountered, first it was Richard Sylvester. There was a death wish in his character. I hope he dies soon. And then I was kind of
Yes.
like looking at that book and I'm like, well, you know what? If you really want to see the most effective, kind of like speaker, I thought it was teacher at that time, Tony Parsons. I'm like, there's Tony Parsons, there's Jim Newman, that apparently has fallen away, and there's Kenneth, and then there's everybody. So I started listening to, I think, Jim, Kenneth, and then Tony, and it was just very, very frustrating because here I was with a lot of knowledge, from spirituality, a lot of lineage, and then a lot of kind of like imagined big kind of like wallet, kind of like a cryptocurrency of karma. I thought I had karma coins in the billions, right? What they kept telling me that it was empty, and I was like, what?
Mm.
that there's no meaning at all, there's no purpose at all. And when I was a spiritual teacher, I was teaching purpose. So this
Yeah.
one was kind of like,
That
it's just
sells
like,
well. Yeah. Purpose sells well. Yeah.
yeah. when I
Find your
did
true purpose. Yeah.
when I did a workshop on purpose, it would fill up, right away. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
Yeah.
there'll
Oh,
be
there's
kind of
loads of
like
books on
there'll be
that.
like
Yeah.
waiting list, for this kind of workshop or healing something, healing and purpose, healing your trauma, all that kind of stuff, right? It was just this really it sold a lot. It sold a lot. But there was this when I was hearing this communication, there was this almost kind of like a slap, right? It was like, what the hell?
Mm.
And there was just this um, frustration and also resonance, right? There was this kind of like, oh, this is really resonating well, but how come I still believe about this stuff? Right? It was just one is wrong or right, right?
Mm.
There's, but I'm seeing like all of these speakers speaking in this clarity
Mm.
because I thought it was being faked. You know what I'm saying? Like they must be faking this kind of like thing. And there was this skepticism about this communication about that there's no one here. And then and it just kept on getting frustrated and frustrated and frustrated with it. But there was also this so whatness about everything. Like
Mm.
the not giving a fuck anymore.
Mm.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful, and
Mm.
that's just a story, of course. Not none of that happened. Um,
Well, I know when I went to the open secret, or went to see it was a Friday, and I was uh, and it was an hour and a half on the Friday, and then whatever Saturday and Sunday. But I went and I was sitting in there, and I was going, "This is absolute bullshit." This was in the within an
yeah,
hour,
yeah, yeah,
but an hour later, I was at home, and I was going, I, I was going, this is unconditional love. He's actually up there offering apparent, up there offering nothing.
yeah,
And an hour previous, I said, I'm never, never, ever, ever, ever going back to anything like this. And I
yeah,
said on
yeah.
the last stage, just as the whole thing was finishing up, I so
Did you do
nervous
to the
about
three
talk.
day residential? Is that what
No,
you did?
it was a weekend.
A
Yeah, it was a
weekend. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
weekend, and I
Okay.
said, this is unconditional love,
Yeah,
and he said, yeah, but it's not the love you're thinking of. And I said, no, it actually is. This is totally um that, and I suppose that was felt, and then it was absolutely felt, and then I the struggle, in a way you could say, the struggle was that he knows that there's no one, and that played out for whatever. But
yeah, yeah,
I see, so I don't know that there's no one. I don't know
yeah,
anything. I
yeah,
don't know how, I don't know anything that I'm saying. It's just
yeah.
sounds. It doesn't mean or make any difference whatsoever. But
No,
it was utterly unique, like, and um, and it felt exactly like I had. It was actually Leo Horton's book that I'd read the words "There's no one," and that was like a bell. And then, but in the
someone
open
has mentioned
secret,
him to me. I have not read any of his books,
oh, I
but
met him.
oh, he
It's
is.
Awakening to the Dream is his book, and
Yeah.
it's probably the best book. If you were to, it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. And I actually met him in
Because
Holland.
in my talks I talk a lot about this like being a dream, what I'm saying, that it's
Mm,
not really happening. And
mm,
I think Joey mentioned that Leo Hartong or something. I've never heard. The only people that I've really encountered was um, Tony. Well, there's a lot before, like a lot of teachers, but
mm,
the uncompromising really was just Tony, Jim, Kenneth, and then Andreas at that time, and then Richard
yeah.
Sylvester, of course, which was
Mm.
the book. So I just kind of like, um, but yeah, go ahead, but go ahead with your story. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's amazing, like, in a way, that there is no anyone in there, and it's just
Yeah.
somehow there's this kind of communication appearing, and it's not like, in a way, it's not even a communication. It's just
No.
what it appears to be, and it is amazing. That's all. That's. I'm just sitting here going, it's amazing. But you know, I suppose if you were to kind of wonder about that, it's just there's no, yeah, it's just somehow this that communication appears, and what, you know, in the, let's say, real world, 99 point are communications that see someone and are talking to someone
Yeah.
and trying to fix them, make them better, and it's the master and servant and all that
Yeah.
scenario playing out, even if it's subtle or obvious. That's what's playing out, and they feed each other, and that's but then this authorityless um whatever uh can be felt as, it's amazing the reaction. It can be felt as, oh, wow. It can be, this is disgusting, this is, I hate it. uh and then, despite whatever thoughts there might be about it, somehow people end up coming back, or they just never come again, or they never, it's just over in a heartbeat. It's just the whole seeking game. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just so utterly radical and so totally ordinary that it's crazy to think, in a way, that the most radical communication out there, the most anarchic, is this communication.
Yeah. The
It is,
directness of it. Yeah.
well, it's just, it's nothing, but it's also earth shattering, life
Yeah.
destroying.
Yeah.
It's it's the graveyard for stories, where stories come to die in a way, and yet that's a story. So it's totally free, and yeah, I'm constantly, it's amazing, man. Yeah. But like
Yeah.
when you were doing Nothing FM, in terms of this, you obviously still do a bit, but there was different sorts of speakers on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I approached Tony because initially when I kind of like I think the first person that I talked to was Andreas Mueller about this because there was just this I just wanted to talk. There was clarity here,
Mm.
but I just needed to talk to someone, because there's just this unhappening that didn't happen to anyone. There was just this clarity, and I just you don't go up to your parents and say, "Hey, mom, there's no one here," right? Or your friend or anything like that. And there was just this wanting to speak to Andreas, and then I talked to Noel, and then I was supposed to be in the lineup of speakers for the Nothing conference,
Yes.
and I just became the host. It didn't really matter. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it just
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
just this enjoyment here, and then but
Mm.
I did not really see that some of the people talking about non-duality were teaching it.
Mm.
That was nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what is, right? But
Mm.
there was this almost like an allergic reaction to it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember, I'm like, isn't this what I was doing? When I was a spiritual teacher, it resembled that. That there
Mm.
was no difference really, because they were still talking to someone. They can say as much as they can that there's no one here, but when they're addressing and teaching someone on how to get here, on how to get this, or doing by these practices and everything, it reeked again of what I was doing before that I've renounced as a character, right? I'm like, okay, none of that. So I think a few months after, I went to Tony, and Tony was like, I was wondering when you're going to start, Claire and I were talking to see when you're going to start talking to us about this because there was this discomfort now in some of the interviews.
Yeah.
They were talking about, like I would interview someone and they would meditate in the beginning. Let's go into meditation. There's nothing
Oh
wrong or right
God.
about that, but I just have the
Oh
giggles.
no,
I
that
just
just
have the
does my head in.
giggles.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just have the giggles because I was a teacher of, I was teacher of meditation for more than a decade, and
Right. A
and
decade.
I
Wow.
just
Yeah.
giggled, right? Because it's or someone is trying to give me the shaktipat, in the interviews, and I'm like, oh man, should I just call them out and
What's
just
that?
because
That's staring at you, is it?
yes, yes, it's kind of like
Okay.
the gurus there, right? They're looking at you, and of course I there's this nervous laughter, kind of like this is bullshit, kind of like thinking, and I was just laughing, And
Yeah.
the actual teacher thinking that I had a glimpse, and I'm like, there's no more glimpses here because there's no one. So I don't know
Mm.
what you're talking. I just think it's really funny that you're trying to give me some transmission when there's no one here at the end of the interview. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, and also
that.
it says it all in a way. They saw someone, that's someone can only see someone else,
Yeah,
really. So
yeah,
that's why it's such a story.
yeah,
You really you have to live as stories to. Anyway, yeah, and I find it really interesting the way you described the spiritual teaching, having the picture there
yeah.
and having
The
the
flower.
quotes. It's backup, isn't it? And
Yeah, yeah,
support.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
so.
can't question me because this came from that, and he's dead and he can't answer back.
Yeah. This never would occur to me. You
the best the
just
best
have the
gurus are the
picture
dead
there.
ones, right? Because you can't contradict them because they're like, oh, he really meant this way. He didn't really mean that
Yeah.
way. He actually meant this way. He didn't really, it's free for interpretation now, right?
Oh
It's
yeah. I
it's
never really like
yeah.
it's just so put off by all dead men's words.
Yeah.
And then when dead men's words are repeated back to you, you go, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jesus, that's so the flowers. Yeah, flowers is a good one.
Flowers, yeah. The
Yeah,
flowers,
you
the
can't have 20 packs of beer. That wouldn't be spiritual. It's all images of how you can't have a keg of beer there, but that's
yeah,
not very spiritual.
yeah.
But flowers and a picture of Ramana and
Or a DJ equipment, you know what I'm saying, with some speakers.
yeah, yeah,
uh, when I first kind of like with nothing media when we started that, my input was and it's just a story
yeah.
is since I'm allergic to all the spirituality and it's just kind of like so I kind of like try to strip it off of the spiritual kind of hangover in non-duality. There seems to be, they call it satsang, you know what I'm saying? So I did not use the word satsang, um, and just a whole bunch of stuff. We had
Okay,
kind of like a lotus flower kind of thing. I'm like, let's change it into something modern, right? It's just,
right.
and
Okay.
yeah.
So you were
So
very clued in. You were very clued into the aesthetics.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can
Okay.
like made modern fonts. Nothing Sanskrit like, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and and just bold colors and brick walls and that kind of stuff. And because when I was a spiritual teacher, um, I tried to go into that aesthetic of gray, beige, kind of like white, kind of like white flower, and almost kind of like a would Google kind of like Eckhart to see what Eckhart's wearing, what
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. You were checking out the competition.
That's right. That's right. Oh no, no, just trying to emulate it, right? Maybe I'll
Yeah.
become, um,
Eckhart.
but
Yeah.
but I always see this that it felt like I was bullshitting the whole time when I was a spiritual teacher, and this
Okay.
is actually radical honesty now. That there's no one here, that there's
Mm,
nothing happening, that there's just this, right? And there's
mm,
all that there is this, and rather than saying that um, in your previous life, you know what I'm saying, in karma and everything, talking about magical thinking, or
yeah.
in a past life, or chakras and that kind of stuff. Um,
Okay.
it's kind
Yeah.
of like reading kind of like a story, a bedtime story, to a whole bunch of kids, and you're really convinced, but you know that it's a fairy tale and everyone's believing it. So you feel a little bit kind of like, ah, oh, such a fraud, talking
So
about
you did feel that, did you? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was a
When I was,
kind of
it
a
was,
knowing. Of,
and yeah, there was this kind of like, so, and then I thought that I was enlightened because I had this glimpse, before, and there's this blissfulness, and I kept on having these glimpses and glimpses. Of course, I would meditate for 3 4 hours and everything, and I would have like, oh, I just had a glimpse. I just have to maintain that.
yeah.
So it was just a really hard maintenance of this purification, of of and it was just a cage. It was like a straight
Mm.
jacket again. It was
In
just
the end, was it
insanity.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
was just, and then when apparent situations in life like death or illness or divorce and that kind of stuff happens, I had to maintain this
That everything
this
was okay.
that everything was okay.
God, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if people were telling me it's okay to be vulnerable, but there was this maintenance of this, like if I become vulnerable, then I would lose my status as a spiritual teacher.
Right.
That
Yeah.
kind of, and then I would not be able to sit at the front anymore. So the
Mm.
specialness was really held on to, right?
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
this specialness, and with this uncompromising, it's like the ripping off of that specialness, and you're like, oh, what now? It's nothing. And the
Yeah.
character is just this really authentic. It wears hats and shows the tattoo, and it doesn't really give a fuck anymore because there's no one here.
Mm.
It's just free. It's free to
Mm.
be, um,
Mm.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
it's not trying to it's it doesn't have a facade. It doesn't have a costume anymore. It's just what
Mm.
is, and
Mm.
there's really no one here.
Mm.
Um, and that's unconditional freedom. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Then there's just this peacefulness that cannot be understood. There's no one claiming it. There's no one sharing it, or there's no one transmitting it or shakti padding it,
Mm.
or doing a workshop
Shaktipadam.
about it, or
Mm.
glaring at you, or kind of like taking you into this silence or something.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and it's just this
Techniques, right? Yeah, yeah.
techniques.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure some of these characters are just being earnest about it, right? And that's just what is too. But there's just
Mm.
this
But then when you describe it wasn't really an earnestness and that got in on you, is the way you're describing it
in the
really, that it
beginning there
was, you
was
felt
earnestness.
like, oh, was there? Okay, at the beginning,
Yeah,
right?
there was earnestness. I really wanted to help, and then I think there was a point that I was helping a lot of homeless people, and at risk youth, and I was like, oh shit, I have a messiah complex.
Oh, okay.
Everything was just like, and that's why I was blissful, is because thinking that, but it was just all of this artificial thing that was
Mm.
happening. It's like when someone's doing selfless service. I thought that I was being selfless, but really I was being selfish because I was maintaining this selflessness.
Yeah.
It's just a status, right? Oh, he's really selfless. He
Yeah,
does selfless.
heaviness then to carry a heaviness to kind of portraying that image. It's yeah, it's trying to hold it together, really. Then yeah. So
Until it
then
cracked, right? I'm like, I can't do this. I need a drink. I need to DJ. I need to dance. I
yeah,
needed
okay.
to do that. And then, of course, at the same time, I was encountering this communication that was just really slapping me. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, you're full of
Mm.
shit. I'm like, ah, shit. I think Jim mentioned it's kind of like a, a, a pouring of cold water. It was just like, there was resonance right away here. There was this kind of
Mm.
like, not a remembrance, but there's this intuitiveness. I can't even say the word that, oh shit. It's kind of like, when there was and this is just a story, kind of like there was a big plot twist, and what you suspected is what's happening, that there's really nothing happening, and
Mm.
there was just that, and all of this thing that apparently happened in the past did not even happen at all. And then I would kind of like, it's almost kind of like this clarity, kind of like seeing that there's really nothing, and there's this delusion, or there's this almost like a brainwashedness. You know what I'm saying? That I did all of this. I'm special. I'm going to get enlightened. All that kind of stuff. And there's this storyteller. Um, yeah, it's just like a big giant plot twist, and it kept on. So I had a glimpse, listening to Tony, Jim. I can't remember, and and there was just this resonance in the midst of this chaos of trying to teach something, and then there was this the cracks were showing through, kind of like the gig is up. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like like I
Mm.
felt like this big con artist. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like doing this, but not intentionally, but
Yeah.
a role. And um, all of these people thinking that I can offer them something. I can offer them,
Mm.
I'll tell someone, I think you just need to increase your meditation if you're going through some anxiety, that kind of thing, right? There's
Yeah, okay.
something, or trying to, thinking that I can really help someone. There was this earnestness that if a person was broken, I just teach them what I know, meditation, and the sutras, and some scriptures and all that kind of stuff, and then he will write me a testimonial that, Emerson, you've changed my life. And I had probably like hundreds, probably thousands of those letters.
Wow.
Yeah. And I used to
Jesus.
post them. Yeah. I used to have
Yeah.
them, so I really thought I was doing something, but the cracks were showing through. The gig was up. The long con job was beginning to show that it was just
Right.
this long con that um, is just a story. All of this is a story. So when this communication kept on, um, appearing. It was just really kind of like, it's almost kind of like I could not help, you know what I'm saying, but listen to it. I'm like, oh shit, I'm listening to this 8 hours now. So there's this from the story. There's an understanding here that once this is listened to, it's almost kind of like, oh fuck. It's almost
Mm.
kind of like it's almost kind of like there's this it's kind of like when you're coming down from a high
Mhm.
from some psychedelics that you thought that was real, and there's this clarity happening. Oh, that was just a trip.
Mm.
It's like a
Yeah.
sobering up, you know what I'm saying, of this delusional thoughts and ideas that I am real, that I am a teacher, that I can help you, that I have something to offer you. And there was
Mm.
this kind of like, oh shit, none of that is true. Fuck. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And there
Mm.
was, and then when I was kind of like, even, when I was interviewing, there was this clarity. There's so much clarity, but there was an awkwardness in speaking about it, right? Because every time that I spoke, I'm like, oh, that's not clear, right? There was just this, but everything is just what is, right? But there was just so much clarity because it's almost kind of like, when there was this really strong delusion, and then one day that delusion collapses, you're kind of like, you're left speechless. You're like, what? None of that is true. Nothing is true. Even not even nothing is not nothing. It was just this it was just this black hole.
Yeah.
This free falling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Madness and clarity at the same time. I can't even explain it. It's kind of like, what the? It's the what the fuck.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a spiritual teacher, yeah.
Yeah. And then we became both hosts, you know what I'm saying? So from host into these apparent speakers of this stunning nothing, this unknowable
Mm.
nothing. And yeah,
Yeah.
I watched your one of your latest one, and I really dug it. I'm like, this is really cool. There was, remember when you did that at Nothing Media? Maybe how long was it? A year ago? Has it been a year?
Could be a year ago, yeah.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah. Is it a year ago? Probably
yeah,
is. Yeah, it was
yeah,
last summer.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, yeah.
yeah.
When was the conference?
Oh, that was 2 years ago.
It's 2 years ago. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
two
did it.
years, or
We
maybe
did
even
an
almost three
interview.
years ago. I don't
I,
have any concept of time anymore. Um,
yeah,
but like
you
two and a
did
half years ago. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I did an interview with you, and you did one with me for the website, I think.
yeah, yeah,
And then it was you who asked. You suggested that I come and do a meeting.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that
I did.
was yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was amazing. Yeah,
yeah. That was a really great. I really love
yeah.
those meetings too. It's really great. And at
Mm.
that time, I think even when I was talking to you, Kenneth was really funny. The second time, or maybe even the first time that we were talking, and he goes, "When are you going to start doing meetings?" And I'm like, "Oh no, 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 never, never.
Yeah.
I'm not going to." I said I was a spiritual teacher before, so no, no, no. You know what I'm saying? But since there's no one choosing to do anything, it's just happening. Here we are.
Yeah. 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 Apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah, that's the description anyway
Yeah.
for
Well,
yeah.
um, so Sunday, you're going to have that
Sunday. Yeah.
Sunday because we
Sunday.
screwed up. We thought it was Saturday, right?
Oh no, so that's my fault. Anyway, Sunday, June
Oh
12th.
man.
Yeah. Sunday, June 12th. So you can join virtually or um in Dublin, in a hotel in Dublin, and all the
Yes.
details are on the website.
Yeah.
God, this is unknowing.life. And that's there. And there's a little
Knowing
red
that
tag,
life. Yeah.
unknowing.life. Yeah.
Nice.
There's a little tag at the top that says June 12th, and then in there are the details.
All right. All right, Frank, we'll chat again
So
soon. I'm going to stop this recording.